What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Dude, it's been a minute since we talked about the iPhone SE 2. Believe it or not, there's a lot of explaining I have to do about this specific device that it really hasn't even came out. And also, I need a break from iOS 13. I've been talking so much about it. I'm literally like frying my brain talking about that thing. So a common question that I've been seeing in a lot of the responses and DMs I've been getting are like, wasn't the iPhone SE 2 supposed to come out at WWDC? Didn't you say it was coming? Didn't you this and that? And yes, I will take some blame. Like, yes, I did kind of say at one point that it was going to come, but if you watch my most recent iPhone SE 2 video that I did before WWDC, I pretty much said that it wasn't going to come probably this year, it was going to come next year. And the problem is, I feel like as Apple progresses further and further and not releasing it, because I think they are going to release it at some point, they're kind of dying out the hype in my opinion, because like I feel like a lot of people would have loved to see some type of phone, and every time I make a video like this, I just feel like the hype as the year progresses is just going to die down, and maybe at some point nobody's even going to want to see an iPhone SE 2 anymore. Maybe they won't care, but I guess that's for a different story. But here's a little recap. Following the leaks before, okay, all that stuff, we thought that the iPhone SE, the OG one, was not going to get iOS 13, and that kind of prompted me to say that an iPhone SE 2 would probably be the most probable thing they would do at WWDC, and like a lot of people said, oh, WWDC is only like a software thing, they never drop hardware. Dude, at this WWDC event, they dropped a new Mac Pro and also a new display, so they do have the opportunity to drop hardware there, which we showcased there, and they've done it before. But we found out that iOS 13 is supported with the original iPhone SE, so that kind of made me say like, okay, if that's getting it, then they probably won't release it. But what happens eventually when the iPhone SE is done getting supported? And that kind of made us think that, okay, an iPhone SE 2 would probably come out with the same screen size as the iPhone 6s, the 7 and the 8, and that would pretty much be the end of that. But like we saw, the iPhone SE did get supported, so it didn't really make too much sense, I guess, in my eyes and also in Apple eyes, to go like create a whole new device when the older one is still supported, if that makes any sense, especially with such a niche device like an iPhone SE. But here's the crazier thing, okay, since my last iPhone SE 2 video, we saw that the iPod Touch 7th Gen was released, and I ended up getting it, I reviewed it, all that good stuff, and I'm telling you right now, like, I thought Apple was going to make it way well before they even released it, because it just made sense. It doesn't take that much money for Apple to go release this product. They just did an internal refresh, they put the same chips at the A10 as the iPhone 7 has, and it was a pretty big update in terms of the internals. The externals, you really can't tell that much of a difference. And this is what I said before, okay, before the iPod Touch 7 officially came out, I said, what's the more likelihood? What are people going to hype up more about, an iPhone SE 2 or an iPod Touch 7th Gen? And I can tell you right now, the SE 2 would probably be the one people hype up even more than any other device, really. So if Apple's going to go make the 7th Gen iPod like they just did and they released it, why couldn't they make an SE 2? You know, it doesn't mean it has to be like the full notchless design and everything. It could very well mean that it's just an internal refresh like the iPod Touch 7th Gen. So that's a pretty big thing right there. And another thing I want to hit on is, you know, the 7th Gen iPod was released because the 6th Gen iPod, the previous version, was unsupported. It wasn't going to get iOS 13. So we saw the 7th Gen iPod released. But if you remember with the iPhone SE, people were saying it wasn't going to get iOS 13. We found out it was. Potentially, the iPhone SE might not get iOS 14 either. So it was a success. So there's a possibility that both of those phones might not get iOS 14. So is Apple going to go ahead and just eliminate all the smaller iPhones? I honestly do not think so. So that's why I'm saying an iPhone SE 2 will probably come eventually to take the spot of the original iPhone SE. But there's really nothing wrong with the original iPhone SE. It's still fast. It's still everything. So that's why I think Apple's going to go ahead and wait until the end of its life to release it. So I don't think we're going to even see it at the September event unless some huge leak comes out. If you noticed before with the iPod Touch 6th Gen, Apple waited till that was like completely done, until like it was officially done with software support, so that they can go and release a new one, and now people can buy that in the Apple stores. And in terms of the details, we don't know if it's going to stay the same size or whether it's going to go for the iPhone 8 size and that body. But regardless, I think an iPhone SE 2 is going to come. It's going to be an internal refresh of either an iPhone 8 body or an iPhone SE body, and that's probably what would make most sense to me, man. It just doesn't make sense for Apple to not release a phone like this. We're still seeing they're manufacturing home buttons, they're manufacturing a lot of different things, like we saw with the iPad Air 3, also the iPad Mini 5, they're still making these type of screens and devices, so it wouldn't be that hard to go ahead and throw another phone in that supply chain and make a new one, man. But in my opinion, I definitely do think it's coming eventually. It probably won't come this year, it might come next year, but I just kind of wanted to make an updated video on that because we've seen the support list for iOS 13, we've seen WWDC, and we saw the new iPod Touch 7th Gen, so that's kind of a little bit of update on the iPhone SE 2 for those of you who care about it. But if you guys have any other questions or you have anything else to add, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I would really appreciate it if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.